Now, moving on with the program, it is our great pleasure to have Jake Bassett as our distinguished alumnus speaker. Jake started our PhD program in 1996, having just graduated from Harvard. Although he excelled in his studies here, he decided that his future lay elsewhere. After graduating from the Oakland Police Academy, for which the physical rigors of our doctoral program amply prepared him, he became a sworn officer in 2002. He is now a sergeant, having been promoted in 2008. Please join me in welcoming him back to Berkeley.
Laugh, but Paolo, the armbar takedown technique you taught me in mathematical explanation seminar has proved invaluable. When people hear that you're a police officer, they expect a transaction of narratives. Either they want to tell you their stories, their recent interactions with law enforcement, or else they want to hear your stories. But the set of stories I find interesting after 8 years on this job is not at all coextensive with the set that people are expecting. I'd like to tell you today a few stories that illustrate the way that philosophy accompanied me as I transitioned from graduate student to Oakland police officer. My overarching goal is to suggest that if philosophical reflection can assert itself in the hurly-burly world of policing the most dangerous city in Oakland, it will likely follow you wherever you go. I've found that even in police work, philosophy is everywhere you turn. Forget for a moment the metaphysical issues that arise whenever matters of life and death are at stake. There are also epistemological issues that surface. I found this to be the case in the police academy, where I learned that the difference between the arrest powers of a sworn officer and those of a civilian turns on an epistemic issue. I can arrest a suspect for a crime committed in my presence, and so can you. In fact, per the California Penal Code, you can use all necessary force to effect the arrest and can summon as many people as necessary to come to your aid. Please do not take this as a spur to part-time vigilantes. But I can arrest a suspect for a felony, whether or not a felony in fact has been committed. Whereas you must know that a felony has been committed. I should note that my reputation in the police academy may well have been solidified when I asked a very, very Stroud-style question. But what would it be to know that a felony has been committed? That said, I'd like to say a few things about your choice of major. I certainly don't need to remind you that people major in philosophy for only one reason: wealth. As someone once asked, what is the use of studying philosophy if all that it does for you is enable you to talk with some plausibility about abstruse questions of logic, etc., and if it does not improve your thinking about the important questions of everyday life? I've tried this line in various conversations about the use of studying philosophy, but when you start out with, "This reminds me of something Wittgenstein once said," you tend to lose your audience. Yet we are all philosophers. Many of the deepest and most interesting questions we have about our lives and the world that we live them in are philosophical questions. You're not all going to be professional philosophers or professors of philosophy, but having received a BA in philosophy and PhD, which, by the way, congratulations, you now owe it to the rest of us to think for yourself, to be someone whose views can withstand critical scrutiny. And as Charles pointed out, this can press on you with quite a bit of urgency. Studying philosophy leads you to demand a kind of rigor from yourself and your media diet. Studying philosophy forces you relentlessly to subject your own beliefs to critical reflection and to provide good and coherent reasons for your decisions. There is, however, nothing in the American world less demanding of justification than one's decision to be a college student, especially at such a prestigious institution institution as your soon-to-be alma mater. What do you do for a living? I'm a student at Cal. Really? Why? That doesn't really happen. It's a conversation. I'm here to tell you that your get out of justification free card is about to expire and welcome you to the grown-up vocational space of reasons. I want to urge upon you that whatever you choose to do to earn a living, you must be able to justify what you do, not to your parents or to your friends, but to yourself. Otherwise, the question why will haunt you. I found this out the hard way about a year after joining the Oakland Police Department. After 6 months at the police academy and 4 months of being supervised by a field training officer, I was, as they say, cut loose. And on my own in deep East Oakland, on dog watch the midnight shift. One night about 3 a.m., my squad mates and I are finishing up paperwork, and I was dispatched to a chronic burglary alarm on International Boulevard. I hit code 4, I don't need cover, and drove to the location. The building was secure, as everyone had expected, and I just sat in my car and finished an assignment card. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a woman. She's running with breakneck speed at me across the street. She closes the distance super fast, jumps into my backseat, caged backseat, closes the door behind her. She's wild-eyed, she's sweating in 50-degree weather. She's screaming that her husband's trying to kill her and that I need to drive her to safety immediately. I'm scanning around, looking around. It's 3 a.m., International Boulevard. There's no one around. There's not a pedestrian, there's not a car, there's nothing. I'm thinking, okay, this woman's either high, mentally ill, both. And I start thinking about how am I going to get her out of my car. Then in the rearview mirror, I see an SUV, and it's barreling toward us at freeway speed. The SUV screeches to a halt right behind the car. The guy very calmly gets out, walks between the cars, opens the door, and starts trying to pull the woman out by her hair. The first thing I thought was, that's never going to work. That's a weed, and she's not a small woman. That's the first thing I thought. The second thing I thought was, wait a minute, I'm a police officer, and I should probably do something about this. So I got out, ran around, grabbed the guy, threw him to the ground. As I do so, I realize he's about 6'3", 260 pounds. I don't know if you can tell. Substantially less than that in front. And I started reverting back, not to my academy training or my PhD training, but to my high school training in wrestling, and I have a chicken wing. And I'm not really sure where to go from there. That's pretty much all I've gotten to at this point. Just as I have the beginning of an advantage on this guy, I start feeling just heavy blows raining down on the back of my head. And I'm not really sure who could possibly be intervening in this, but clearly they have the bad guy and the good guy mixed up. Of course, it turns out that it's the woman who's punching me in the back of the head while screaming, "Get off of him, get off of him," making it pretty clear that she's not making a mistake. I should have probably been asking for code 3 cover at this point over the radio, but instead I was preoccupied with the question, how and why did I wind up in this job on International Boulevard in this exact situation? Sometimes reflection's a bad thing. You need to be in the moment.